Obinna thought the worst mistake of his marriage was falling in love with his boss, but that was before he wore her silk wrapper and watched his human wife melt into something ancient, coiled, and inhuman. In the frozen silence of their Ikoyi mansion, as golden reptilian eyes stared back at him, Obinna realized the terrifying truth. The powerful CEO he had vowed to love forever was not just hiding secrets. She was hiding a nature that could either make him unimaginably wealthy or cost him his life. Obinna Chukwu had perfected the art of invisibility. For 3 years at Okafor Oil and Gas, he had learned when to speak and, more importantly, when not to. He arrived early, left late, delivered precise reports, and avoided the kind of attention that could either elevate a man too quickly or destroy him just as fast. In a company where power wore Italian suits and spoke with foreign accents, Obinna, mid-level petroleum engineer, son of a retired civil servant from Enugu, knew his place. So when the email arrived summoning him to present at the executive board meeting on the 47th floor, his first thought was that there had been a mistake. By 9 a.m. that Tuesday morning, the glass-walled boardroom overlooking Lagos Harbor was already filling with senior managers. Sunlight bounced off luxury yachts below, scattering reflections across the polished marble floor. Men and women in tailored suits murmured to one another, discussing offshore yields and international partnerships in low, confident tones. Obinna stood at the far end of the room, laptop open, palm stamp. Just present the drilling efficiency report, he told himself. Answer questions. Leave. He began. Our Q2 offshore rig performance shows a 12% increase in extraction efficiency, largely due to recalibrated pressure thresholds in. The door opened. The room fell silent with the kind of instinctive obedience Obinna had only seen once before, during a visit from a federal minister. Selina Okafor walked in. She was tall, elegant, and moved with a calm authority that felt less learned and more natural. Her Ankara business suit was custom-made, the fabric rich with indigo and gold patterns that caught the light strangely, almost as if they shifted when one wasn't looking directly at them. Diamond studs glittered at her ears. Her heels clicked once, twice, and then stopped. Everyone stood. Obinna swallowed and kept his eyes on his slides, though he could feel it, the weight of her presence pressing against the room like a change in atmospheric pressure. Sit, she said. Her voice was smooth, controlled, and carried effortlessly. Obinna resumed, forcing his focus back to the numbers. He was halfway through explaining pressure optimization when she interrupted. Why did you choose to adjust the choke valve instead of the mud weight? The question sliced cleanly through the room. Obinna looked up. Selina Okafor was staring directly at him. Not at the screen. At him. Her eyes were dark brown, almost black, but there was something unsettling about them. They were too sharp, too knowing, as if she weren't just listening to his explanation, but measuring him. Because increasing mud weight would have risked formation damage at that depth, he answered automatically. The reservoir structure is fragile. Adjusting the choke valve gave us control without compromising integrity. A pause. Then she smiled. It was brief. Dangerous. Correct, she said. Most engineers would have played it safe and lost efficiency. You didn't. Murmurs rippled through the room. The rest of the presentation passed in a blur. Obinna finished, answered a few routine questions, and sat down, heart pounding. He felt her gaze on him again before the meeting ended. Afterward, as he packed his laptop, his colleague leaned in and whispered, Oga, the CEO has never asked a junior engineer a direct question. What did you do? Obinna didn't answer. He didn't know. But he felt it, like a hand on the back of his neck, followed him all day. 3 days later, at 2:14 p.m., an email appeared in his inbox. From Executive Office. Subject, Meeting Request. Message, CEO requests private meeting. Today, 6 p.m. Executive Floor. His stomach dropped. By 4 p.m., the entire engineering department knew. Promotions and terminations both came from that floor, often without warning. Colleagues alternated between congratulating him and offering sympathetic looks. Whatever it is, just speak well, someone said. At 5:58 p.m., Obinna stepped onto the executive floor. The corridors were silent, carpet muffling his footsteps. Selina Okafor's office doors stood open. Inside, the temperature was cooler than the rest of the building. Floor-to-ceiling windows revealed Lagos at dusk, traffic lights blinking on, the lagoon darkening. African art lined the walls, masks, sculptures, pieces that seemed to watch him from the corners of his vision. Selina stood by the window. "You're punctual," she said without turning. "Yes, ma'am." She turned then, studying him the way a jeweler might examine a rare stone. "Sit, Obinna Chukwu." The sound of his name on her lips sent a strange shiver through him. She didn't ask about work. Instead, she asked, "Are you married?" "No." "Family in Lagos?" "No." "Enugu." "What do you dream about?" The question caught him off guard. "Dream about when you imagine your future," she clarified. "What do you see?" He hesitated, then answered honestly. "Building things that last. Something solid. Something that won't disappear." Her expression softened. "Just a fraction." "I dream of finding someone who can see me," she said quietly, "and not run away." The intimacy of the moment unsettled him. Before he could respond, she straightened. "You'll receive a promotion on Monday. Senior Project Manager. You'll report directly to me." His mouth opened. Closed. "Thank you, ma'am." "You're dismissed." The next 6 months unfolded like a carefully choreographed dance. Professional dinners turned into private ones. Strategy meetings bled into long conversations at Ikoyi. Weekend yacht trips followed. Art galleries. Quiet laughter. Lagos society buzzed. The Ice Queen is dating her employee. He must be using juju. She's never been seen with a man before. Obinna fell in love despite himself. Selina was brilliant, attentive, and unexpectedly warm in private. But there were oddities. She never ate in public. Animals avoided her. Mirrors sometimes reflected her a heartbeat too late. Her skin was always cool, even in the thick Lagos heat. She had no childhood photos. No stories from before age 25. He told himself powerful people were allowed their mysteries. One night, tangled together in her Banana Island penthouse, she whispered, "Promise me something." "Anything." "When you know the truth," she said, voice trembling slightly, "remember that I loved you before I told you." And after. Drowsy with happiness, Obinna promised. 6 months later, Selina Okafor proposed to him. Lagos society reeled. The traditional wedding in Enugu was lavish beyond imagination. The white wedding at Eke Hotel drew the city's elite. Storm clouds gathered where none were forecast. An elder hesitated during the blessing, staring too long into Selina's eyes. "You are marrying something very old," his mother whispered. Obinna ignored it. That night, in their new Ikoyi mansion, he slept peacefully. Selina did not sleep at all. She stood at the window, watching Lagos breathe, her reflection in the glass briefly showing something else, something coiled, ancient, and patient, before smoothing back into the perfect human wife Obinna believed her to be. For now, the first 3 months of Obinna's marriage felt unreal, like he had stepped into another man's life and forgotten how to leave. Their Ikoyi mansion rose behind tall gates and armed security, a blend of colonial elegance and modern excess. Marble floors reflected sunlight in blinding sheets. The pool glowed turquoise at night, its surface unnaturally still. Staff moved through the house quietly, efficiently, appearing when needed and vanishing just as fast. Selena was the perfect wife. She woke before dawn, so early Obinna never actually heard her rise, and returned late at night, impeccably dressed, her energy untouched by the long hours. They ate dinner together every evening. They talked. They laughed. They made love with an intensity that left Obinna breathless and grateful. Yet, even in happiness, there were rules. "Never enter my private room when I'm not home," Selena told him one night, her tone calm but unmistakably firm. It wasn't a request. Obinna nodded. Of course. The room was on the third floor, always locked. Selena visited it every morning before work and sometimes late at night. When he once asked what she kept there, she smiled faintly. "Things from my past," she said. "You don't want to see them." He accepted it. Every marriage needed space. At first, the strangeness felt minor, quirks of a powerful woman and used to sharing her life. Selena never ate solid food with him. Breakfast was smoothies. Dinner was soup or juice she barely touched. When Obinna teased her about it, she shrugged. "My stomach is sensitive." Their bedroom was kept cold, unbearably so by Lagos standards. The air conditioner hummed constantly. "I run hot," she said when he complained, kissing his cheek. "You can wear a sweater." One night, Obinna woke suddenly and realized she was staring at him. Not blinking. Not moving. "Can't sleep," he murmured. "I like watching you," she replied softly. He turned over, unease dissolving into affection. Then came the things he couldn't explain away. One morning in the bathroom, steam fogging the mirrors, Obinna caught a glimpse of Selena's reflection and froze. For a fraction of a second, her eyes weren't round. They were vertical slits. He blinked, heart hammering. Normal again. "Did you see that?" he asked, forcing a laugh. "See what?" she replied, already turning away. He told himself it was the light. Another time, during an argument about her never taking time off, Selena grabbed his wrist to stop him from pacing. Pain shot through his arm. She released him instantly, horror flooding her face. "I'm sorry," she whispered. "I didn't realize." Bruises bloomed under his skin the next day, dark and finger-shaped. She avoided touching him for hours afterward. The staff were worse. They spoke little. They avoided Selena's gaze. The cook crossed herself when Selena passed. One maid refused to enter the bedroom unless Obinna was present. "Why are they afraid of you?" he joked one evening. Selena's smile didn't reach her eyes. "People fear what they don't understand." The joke slipped out before Obinna could stop it. "Sometimes," he said lightly, "I think you're not human. The way you work without sleeping." Selena went very still. "Would it matter," she asked quietly, "if I wasn't?" He laughed. She didn't. The forbidden room began to pull at him. At first, it was idle curiosity. Then it became a question he carried everywhere. What could possibly require that much secrecy? Why was the keypad code changed weekly? Why did the room smell faintly of herbs whenever Selena emerged? One Saturday, Selena rushed out early for an emergency board meeting in Port Harcourt. "I'll be back tonight," she said, adjusting her jacket. "Please remember, don't go into my room. I'm protecting you." The wording stuck with him. After she left, the house felt hollow. Obinna stood in front of the door on the third floor longer than he meant to. He tried the handle. Locked. He entered a few codes half-heartedly, her birthday, their anniversary. Nothing. On impulse, he tried his own birthday. The lock clicked. His breath caught. The door swung open. The room was dim, lit by candles that flickered without drafts. The walls were lined with African artifacts, Masks, carved figures, ceremonial objects that radiated age and weight. The air smelled of incense, herbs, and something deeper, organic. At the center sat a large wooden chest carved with intertwining python designs. Obinna took a step closer. His phone rang. "Obinna," Selina's voice said, sharp with panic. "Step away from the chest. Close the door. Leave my room. Now." His blood ran cold. "How did you?" "I always know where you are in this house," she said, voice breaking. "Please. Trust me." Shaking, he did as she asked. Selina returned home after midnight. She found him sitting in the living room, lights off. "You went into my room," she said. He nodded. "Did you open the chest?" "No." Relief crossed her face, real, raw. "Thank God." "What's in there, Selina?" he demanded. "What are you hiding?" She took his hands. Her skin was cold. "I'm your wife," she said. "I love you." "That's not an answer." She pulled away, pacing. "I'll tell you. Soon. But not today." "Why?" "Because once you know," she said softly, "everything changes. And I'm not ready to lose you." She left him there, alone with the weight of unanswered questions. That night, Obinna lay awake listening to Lagos hum outside their windows, certainty settling heavy in his chest. His wife loved him. And his wife was not human. The truth was coming. Whether he was ready or not. It was supposed to be a joke. A small, intimate joke between husband and wife, one of those silly moments that married couples laughed about later. If Obinna had known what that single decision would cost him, he would have stood dripping and naked in the bathroom until morning. But he didn't know. It was Friday night, close to 11. Selina was still downstairs in her home office, laptop open, voice low as she spoke to someone on an international call. Obinna returned from a long inspection at an offshore site, exhausted, muscles aching, mind foggy. The rain shower was hot, soothing. He let the water pound against his shoulders until the tension eased from his spine. When he finally turned it off, steam filled the bathroom. That was when he realized he had forgotten his towel. "Damn," he muttered. He cracked open the bathroom door, peering into the bedroom. The lights were low, casting the room in soft gold. On the velvet chair near the bed lay Selina's silk wrapper, white, threaded with delicate gold embroidery shaped like intertwining serpents. She wore it often at home, especially after bathing. Obinna hesitated only a second. "We're married," he told himself. "What's the big deal?" He stepped out and wrapped it around his waist. The moment the fabric touched his skin, the room changed. The temperature dropped violently, as if all the heat had been sucked out of the air. Obinna gasped as cold bit into his lungs. His breath fogged instantly. "What the?" The silk tightened. Not slipping. Not falling. Tightening. It constricted around his waist like a living thing, squeezing hard enough to steal his breath. Panic surged through him. He clawed at the fabric, trying to loosen it, but it wouldn't budge. The lights flickered. The air grew heavy, thick with pressure that made his ears ring. "Selina," he shouted. "Selina." Her scream answered him. She appeared in the doorway in less than a second, far too fast for the distance between floors. Her eyes were glowing, not reflecting light. Glowing. "Take it off," she screamed. "Obinna, take it off." "I can't," he cried, hands shaking as he pulled uselessly at the wrapper. "It won't." She crossed the room in a blur. With a strength that didn't belong in a woman of her slender frame, Selina grabbed the silk and tore it away from his body. The moment the fabric left his skin, Obinna stumbled back, gasping, collapsing against the bed. Then he saw her. Selina staggered, one hand braced against the dresser. Her breathing changed deep, guttural, wrong. Her body shuddered violently. "Don't look," she whispered. but he couldn't stop. Her legs fused together, skin rippling as if something moved beneath it. A sharp cracking sound filled the room as bones rearranged themselves. Scales erupted across her lower body, black and gold, glossy like oil under moonlight. Her legs elongated, thickened, merging into a massive, muscular tail. A python's tail. It uncoiled across the marble floor, stretching impossibly long, powerful coils flexing with terrible grace. Her upper body remained human, arms, torso, face, but her eyes. Her eyes were no longer human. They were gold. Vertical slits burned into him, ancient and knowing and utterly inhuman. Obinna backed against the wall, heart slamming so hard he thought it would burst. "No," he whispered. "No, no, no." Selena straightened, if straightening was the word, her serpentine body lifting her human torso upright. She stood taller now, her coiled lower half supporting her with frightening ease. "You weren't supposed to see this," she said, her voice layered with a soft hiss beneath the words. "Not like this. Not yet." Obinna slid down the wall until he hit the floor. His mind rejected what his eyes saw. This had to be a dream. A hallucination. His wife was standing or coiling in front of him, half woman, half python. "What are you?" he asked, his voice barely audible. Selena moved closer. The sound of scales against marble was soft but unbearable. "Look at me," she said gently. "Please. Look." He forced himself to raise his eyes. In those golden, reptilian pupils, he saw it: fear, pain, love. "I am Mami Wata's daughter," she said, "born of a sacred python spirit and a human woman. In your tongue, I am called Eke Mmiri, water python." She knelt, coiled, before him, careful not to touch. "I am over 200 years old," she continued. "I guard wealth, commerce, the flow of resources. My kind has guided oil discoveries, trade routes, fortunes, long before Lagos had a name." Obinna shook his head slowly. "The wrapper. It is sacred," she said, "woven with my scales. Blessed in underwater temples. Only my kind can touch it safely. When a human wears it, it forces truth." She swallowed. "You triggered the revelation curse." Tears slid down her cheeks, cutting clean paths through fear and scale. "I wanted to tell you myself," she whispered. "When you were ready. When you loved me enough to stay." Silence filled the room, broken only by the hum of the air conditioner and the distant sounds of Lagos at night. Obinna pressed his hands to his face. "You lied to me," he said hoarsely. "Every day. Yes. You let me marry you. Yes. You slept beside me. Yes." Her voice cracked. "And I loved you through all of it." Her transformation reversed slowly, scales receding, tail splitting, reshaping into legs. Within moments, Selena was human again, kneeling on the floor in a silk robe, trembling. "I understand if you want to leave," she said quietly. "I'll give you everything. Money, the house, your freedom." She stood and stepped back, putting distance between them. "I will love you until the day I return to the water," she said. "That is the one truth I have never hidden." She left the room. Obinna sat alone, staring at the silk wrapper lying on the floor. When he picked it up, it was warm, almost alive. In the mirror, he saw himself wide-eyed, shaken. And just for a heartbeat, behind his reflection, something shimmered. Scales. For 3 days, the Ikoyi mansion became a house divided. Obinna stayed in the master bedroom. Selena moved into the East Wing guest room. They did not speak. They did not touch. They existed on opposite sides of the same enormous space, like strangers trapped under one roof by an invisible storm. The staff sensed it immediately. Footsteps softened. Voices dropped to whispers. Meals were delivered quietly and left untouched. No one asked questions. No one lingered. The house, once warm with low laughter and late-night conversations, felt hollow, like something sacred had cracked. And every night, Obinna heard it. The slow, unmistakable sound of scales sliding across marble. Day 1, denial. Saturday morning arrived without mercy. Obinna woke hoping, desperately, that the night before had been a nightmare born of exhaustion. His heart raced as he turned his head toward the velvet chair. The silk wrapper lay there, folded neatly. Real. His chest tightened. He called in sick to work for the first time in his career, his voice flat as he spoke to his supervisor. Afterward, he sat on the edge of the bed, laptop open, fingers trembling as he typed. Mami Wata, myth or real? Snake woman, African folklore. Wife not human, what to do? Married to water spirit. Stories flooded the screen. Legends. Warnings. Half-remembered tales his grandmother used to hush with a sign of the cross. Men who gained wealth and lost their souls. Men who followed beautiful women into rivers and were never seen again. None of the stories ended well. A soft knock came at the door around noon. A tray sat on the floor. Rice. Stew. A glass of juice. A folded note. You need to eat. I'm sorry. I love you. He didn't touch it. Later, he heard Selena's voice outside the door, quiet, careful. Obinna, please. You don't have to talk to me. Just tell me you're okay. He stayed silent. That night, the house grew colder. Near midnight, the sound came again, heavy, deliberate movement through the halls. Obinna cracked the door open, heart pounding. Down the corridor, illuminated by moonlight, Selena moved in her true form. Her massive coils slid across the floor with eerie grace. She moved slowly, deliberately, as if the weight of the house pressed against her. He heard it then, not the movement. Crying. Soft, broken sobs echoing through the mansion. Obinna closed the door and slid down against it, his chest aching. Day 2, anger. By Sunday morning, denial hardened into rage. Obinna left the bedroom and found Selena in the kitchen, human again, standing over a stove she clearly wasn't using. She looked smaller somehow. Tired. How many? He asked. She turned slowly. How many what? How many men before me? Her shoulders stiffened. You're the first. He laughed bitterly. 200 years old and I'm the first? The first I loved, she said quietly. The first I married. If I hadn't worn that wrapper, he snapped, would you ever have told me the truth? Silence. That was answer enough. So our marriage is a lie, he said. You needed a husband to look normal, to fit in with Lagos society. Her eyes flashed. I married you because you made me laugh at a board meeting. Because you looked at me like a woman, not a god or a monster. You're not human, he shouted. You're a snake. The word hung in the air. Selena's face hardened. Yes, she said. I am. And this snake loved you when no one else saw you. This snake gave you everything you never dreamed of and asked for nothing but your presence. She slammed her hand on the granite counter. The stone cracked. Instant regret crossed her face. I never used magic on you, she said fiercely. My kind cannot create love. That part has to be real. She turned away. I'll start the divorce paperwork on Monday. Day 3. Seeking answers. On Monday, Obinna went to his mother. Mama Nkechi lived in a modest compound in Surulere, far from penthouses and private guards. The moment she saw his face, she knew. You've seen something, she said. Mama, he asked quietly, do you believe in Mami Wata? Her expression changed immediately. Why are you asking me this? He didn't answer. She took him to see Elder Ease, an old man whose eyes seemed to look through flesh and bone. You carry cold water on you, the elder said. Old power. Obinna swallowed. Is she evil? Elder E shook his head. No, just ancient. And lonely. Can a man love something like that? The old man studied him carefully. That depends. Can you love something that will never fully belong to your world? The return. That evening, Obinna returned to the mansion. Selina sat in the living room surrounded by documents, her face carefully neutral. The papers are ready, she said. You'll get the house, 50 million naira, and your job if you want it. Obinna didn't sit. He asked, when you sleep, is it easier in your other form? She blinked. Yes. The cold, he said slowly. The food. The rules. You weren't being cruel. You were surviving. Tears welled in her eyes. He looked at the papers. Then at her. I'm not signing, he said. Her breath caught. Obinna. I'm terrified, he admitted. But for 3 days, this house felt dead. And I realized something. He stepped closer. I'd rather learn how to live with the truth than live without you. Selina broke down, covering her face. And for the first time since the revelation, Obinna reached out and held his wife. Human. Monster. Both. Rebuilding a marriage is hard enough when betrayal is human scale, an affair a lie about money, a broken promise. But rebuilding a marriage when one partner is secretly a 200-year-old python spirit requires a whole different kind of couples therapy. Selina suggested they start with the basics. Let me show you my world, Obinna. All of it. The beautiful parts and the terrifying parts. Then you can decide if you still want to be my husband. The temple room ***. Tuesday morning arrived with Lagos humidity that made the air feel like wet cotton. Obinna stood outside the private room on the 3rd floor, his heart hammering against his ribs like it was trying to escape his chest. Selina held the door handle, watching him with those brown eyes that he now knew could turn gold and reptilian in seconds. You're ready now, she said softly. The truth is out. Let me show you what you almost opened. The door swung inward, and the smell hit him first. Herbs, river water, something organic and ancient that made his skin prickle with instinctive unease. The temple room was larger than he remembered from his brief glimpse days ago. Morning light filtered through sheer curtains, casting everything in soft gold. African masks lined the walls, not the tourist kind sold on Victoria Island streets, but real ceremonial pieces with eyes that seemed to follow movement. Their expressions ranged from serene to terrifying, wooden faces carved by hands that understood the sacred. These are from underwater shrines, Selina explained, her voice taking on a reverent tone he'd never heard before. Places where my kind worship. Temples beneath the Niger River that humans will never see. She moved to a row of clay pots on a low wooden table, each one sealed with wax and marked with symbols Obinna didn't recognize. Sacred water from the Niger and Benue rivers. The places where my mother birthed me 2 centuries ago. Obinna's throat felt tight. Your mother, was she like you? She was pure Mami Wata. I'm half. My father was human. A fisherman who won her heart. He died after 3 years. She returned to the water and never took human form again. Selina's fingers traced the rim of one pot. She couldn't bear to be human without him. The weight of that statement settled between them, a warning and a confession wrapped together. Selina moved to a wooden chest, ornately carved with python designs that seemed to writhe in the shifting light. This was the chest he'd almost opened. The one that had made Selina call him in panic, her voice desperate in a way he'd never heard before. She pulled a key from beneath her blouse, a silver key on a leather cord, worn smooth by time and touch. This is what you almost opened, Obinna. What I wasn't ready to show you. The lock clicked. The lid rose with a whisper of hinges that sounded almost alive. Inside, nestled in beds of river moss and silk, were eggs. Not chicken eggs. Not any eggs Obinna had ever seen in a Lagos market or biology textbook. These were the size of footballs, leathery shelled, and faintly luminescent, as if something inside them glowed with its own light. There were 5 of them, perfectly oval, beautiful, and utterly alien. "My eggs," Selena said simply. "If I ever decide to have children, I'll lay them here. They'll incubate for 2 years in sacred water before hatching." The room spun slightly. Obinna gripped the edge of the chest to steady himself. "You lay eggs?" It wasn't a question, but Selena answered anyway. "I'm half python, Obinna. How did you think reproduction worked?" The biological reality crashed over him like cold water. All the vague future conversations about maybe someday having children suddenly revealed themselves as the fantasies they'd always been. The image of Selena pregnant, of bringing a baby home from the hospital, of raising a son or daughter together, all of it dissolved like salt in water. "So we can never." His voice cracked. "You and I can never have children together." Selena's face showed pain so deep it looked carved into her bones. 200 years of pain. "No, we cannot. I can lay eggs, but they'd be pure python spirit, not human at all, not even half. They'd transform into serpent form at puberty and need to return to the water. And you." She paused, choosing words carefully. "You can father children, Obinna. Just not with me." The silence stretched until it became its own presence in the room. "Is that why you chose me?" Obinna heard himself ask. Someone who wouldn't care about heirs? Someone who'd never mention wanting children? Selena's laugh was bitter. "I chose you because you made me laugh at a board meeting. Because you looked at me like I was a woman, not a CEO or a deity or a monster. Because for 5 minutes during your presentation, I forgot I was alone." She closed the chest gently, reverently. "The childlessness was something I'd resigned myself to centuries ago. I thought you'd never need to know because I thought you'd never discover what I am." Obinna walked to the window, staring out at Lagos sprawling beneath them, Victoria Island skyscrapers, the Atlantic Ocean glittering in the distance, boats leaving white trails across blue water. Normal life. Human life. The life he'd thought he was living until a silk wrapper revealed the truth. "What else?" he asked, still facing the window. "What else haven't you told me?" Behind him, he heard Selena's intake of breath. When she spoke, her voice carried the weight of confession. "I'm immortal unless killed by specific means. I'll watch you grow old and die while I remain 35. I cannot enter churches or mosques without pain. Holy ground burns my kind. I must return to water every full moon or I'll start to deteriorate. And," she paused, "and there are others like me. A whole society you don't know exists. They'll want to meet you eventually. My husband. The human who knows." Obinna turned to face her. She stood in the center of her temple room, surrounded by the artifacts of a life he couldn't fully comprehend, looking simultaneously powerful and vulnerable in a way that made his chest ache. "Show me," he said. "Show you what?" "Your other form. Not by accident this time. Not in shock or anger. Show me who you really are, Selena. Let me see you and not look away." Her eyes widened. "Obinna, you don't have to." "I do. If we're going to make this work, I need to see all of you. Not just the beautiful CEO in designer clothes. The real you." For a long moment, Selena simply stared at him, as if trying to read whether he was serious or whether this was some elaborate test he wanted her to fail. Then, slowly, deliberately, she began to change. The transformation was more gradual this time, less violent than the shock-induced shift he'd witnessed days ago. Her brown eyes bled to gold, pupils elongating into vertical slits. Her skin erupted with scales, black and gold and iridescent, catching light like oil on water. Her legs fused together, bones restructuring with sounds that made Obinna's stomach turn, elongating into the powerful muscular coil of a python's body. Within 30 seconds, she stood before him in her true form. 7 feet of half-woman, half-serpent, ancient and beautiful and terrifying. Her human torso remained unchanged, but from the waist down, 12 feet of python coil supported her, scales gleaming in the morning light. "This is me," she said, her voice carrying a slight hiss now. "This is what you married." Obinna stepped forward. His hands shook, but he forced them steady. Slowly, giving her time to stop him, he reached out and touched her face. Still human, still warm, still the face he'd kissed 1,000 times. Then, taking a breath that felt like it might be his last brave act, he let his hand trail down to where human skin became serpent scales. The scales were cool, smooth, surprisingly soft, not slimy or wet like he'd irrationally feared, but dry and intricate, each one a perfect piece of natural armor. He could feel muscle beneath them, powerful and alive, feel her serpentine lower body tense at his touch. "I'm still terrified," he whispered. "But I'm not running." Selena's golden eyes filled with tears that looked strange and heartbreaking running down a face that was both his wife and something from ancient mythology. "That's more than anyone has ever given me," she said. "In 200 years, Obinna, that's more than anyone has ever given me." And in the temple room surrounded by artifacts of a world he was only beginning to understand, Obinna held his wife, all of her, and chose love over fear. Opening hook. Selena said there were others like her, a hidden society of supernatural beings living among Lagos's elite, controlling the flow of wealth and power from the shadows. Obinna thought he was prepared to meet them. He was wrong. Because nothing could have prepared him for the moment he walked into a secret gathering beneath Victoria Island and realized that half of Nigeria's most powerful CEOs, politicians, and socialites weren't human at all. The invitation ***. Friday evening, 1 week after Obinna had touched Selena's scales and chosen to stay, an envelope arrived at their Ikoyi mansion. Not through the mail. Not through a courier. It simply appeared on their dining table while they were having dinner, materializing between the pepper soup and fried plantains like it had always been there. Selena's face went pale when she saw it. The envelope was black, sealed with gold wax pressed with a python symbol that seemed to move in the candlelight. "What is that?" Obinna asked, though something cold in his gut already knew this wasn't a normal dinner invitation. "The council," Selena said quietly, breaking the seal with trembling fingers. "They know about you. They want to meet you." She pulled out a card made of material that looked like black pearl, words appearing in gold script as she touched it. ***The human husband is summoned. Victoria Island. The temple beneath. Saturday midnight. Come alone or come together, but come. ***. "What council?" Obinna pushed his soup away, appetite gone. Selena set the card down carefully, as if it might bite. "The Council of the Deep. The governing body of all Mami Wata descendants, water spirits, and ancient beings who've made Lagos their territory. There." She paused, searching for words. "They're why Nigeria's oil industry exists at all, Obinna. Every major discovery, every successful company, every boom period, we've guided it all. We." Obinna felt the room tilt slightly. "There are 43 of us currently living in Lagos. CEOs, politicians, society women, traditional rulers. All connected to water spirits or ancient powers. We meet once a month beneath Victoria Island, in chambers humans aren't supposed to know exist." She met his eyes. "You knowing, you surviving the revelation, that changes everything. They need to assess whether you're a threat." "A threat?" "I'm one man, Selena. What threat could I possibly? You're a human who knows what we are. In 200 years, only 17 humans have ever learned the truth. 12 of them went mad and had to be managed. 3 died accidentally. Our world is dangerous for mortals. 2 disappeared voluntarily, chose to forget through ritual magic. She took his hand. None of them were married to one of us. You're unprecedented, Obinna. That makes you either very dangerous or very valuable. And if they decide I'm dangerous? Selena's silence was answer enough. The temple beneath. Saturday midnight found them driving through empty Victoria Island streets in Selena's Mercedes. The city that never truly slept had quieted to a low hum, generators droning, security guards at their posts, the occasional night taxi prowling for fares. Selena turned down a street Obinna had driven past 1,000 times. The back entrance to Eke Hotel. But instead of heading to the hotel, she drove past it to what looked like an abandoned building marked for demolition. Here? Obinna asked doubtfully. Here. She parked, and they walked to a rusted metal door that looked like it hadn't been opened in years. Selena pressed her palm against it, and Obinna heard something click deep within the mechanism. Not a lock, but something organic, something alive. The door swung open to reveal stairs descending into darkness. Stay close to me, Selena warned. Don't speak unless spoken to directly. Don't accept food or drink. Don't make promises. And whatever you do, don't look the River King directly in the eyes. He'll take it as a challenge. River King. You'll know him when you see him. The stairs went down farther than should have been possible. They must have descended below sea level, below the foundations of Victoria Island itself. The air grew cooler, damper, carrying the scent of salt water and something else. Incense, flowers, decay. At the bottom, a passage opened into a chamber that stole Obinna's breath. It was a temple carved from living rock, but rock that seemed to breathe. Bioluminescent algae covered the walls, pulsing with soft blue-green light. Water flowed through channels in the floor, babbling softly, though there was no visible source or drain. The ceiling arched high above, lost in shadows that moved with purpose. And in the center of the chamber, arranged on stone seats around a circular pool of black water, sat the council. Obinna counted them, 13 figures, though the shadows made it hard to be certain. Some appeared human. Some decidedly did not. The woman nearest them had skin that rippled like water, never quite solid. The man beside her had gills visible on his neck, opening and closing with each breath. Another figure. Obinna couldn't tell if it was male or female, seemed to be made entirely of river plants, flowering vines growing from their scalp instead of hair. And at the head of the circle, on a throne carved from a single massive piece of coral, sat the River King. He was enormous, 7 feet tall even seated, with skin so dark it seemed to absorb light. His eyes were pure white, no pupils, glowing faintly in the chamber's dimness. He wore traditional coral beads that clicked softly when he moved, and his presence filled the room like pressure before a storm. Selena Okafor, his voice rumbled like thunder over deep water. You bring your human before us. Selena bowed, pulling Obinna down with her. I do, River King. As summoned. Rise. They stood. Every eye in the chamber fixed on Obinna with varying degrees of curiosity, amusement, and hunger. He fought the urge to step back, to run, to do anything except stand there being examined like an interesting specimen. He knows, the River King stated. Not a question. He knows, Selena confirmed. And he lives. And he stays. Unprecedented. The River King leaned forward, those white eyes somehow seeing despite lacking pupils. Tell me, human, why do you not fear what your wife is? Obinna's mouth went dry. Every instinct. Screamed to say what they wanted to hear, to flatter, to survive. But something deeper, maybe stupidity, maybe honesty, made him speak truth instead. I do fear it, he said, his voice steadier than he felt. I fear it every day. but I fear losing her more." Silence filled the chamber. Then, unexpectedly, the River King laughed, a sound like waves crashing on rocks. "Honest. I like that. Most humans lie when they're terrified." He gestured to an empty stone seat near the pool. "Sit, Obinna Chukwu. Let us see if you're worthy of the secret you carry." The test ****. Obinna sat where indicated, Selena beside him, their hands intertwined. The water in the central pool began to glow, surface rippling though nothing touched it. A woman across the circle spoke, her voice musical and strange. "The human has passed the first test, he has not run. But knowledge without loyalty is dangerous. We must know his heart." "I propose the traditional binding," said another voice, this one male and harsh. "Let him drink from the pool. If he's pure of intention, he'll survive. If he harbors thoughts of betrayal or exposure, the water will know." Selena's hand tightened on Obinna's. "The binding ritual can kill him. He's not prepared." "Then prepare him quickly," the River King said. "Or we prepare him permanently." The threat was clear. Selena turned to Obinna, speaking rapidly in a whisper. "The water in that pool is from the source, the original river where Mami Wata first emerged into legend. It reads intention, reads soul. If you drink it with pure heart, with true acceptance of what we are, it will bind you to us. You'll be protected, marked as ours, unable to speak our secrets to other humans even if you wanted to." "And if I'm not pure enough?" Obinna asked, though he suspected he knew. "Then the water will fill your lungs from the inside. You'll drown on dry land." Obinna looked at the glowing pool, then at the 13 beings surrounding it, then at his wife. His beautiful, terrifying, impossible wife who'd given him everything and hidden only one truth. "What do I have to do?" The River King smiled, showing teeth that were slightly too sharp. "Cup your hands. Drink 3 mouthfuls. And pray to whatever gods you believe in that your love is stronger than your fear." A clay cup materialized in Obinna's hands. He didn't see who gave it to him. The River King dipped it into the glowing pool, and when he handed it back, the water inside swirled with colors Obinna had no names for. "Obinna," Selena whispered desperately. "You don't have to do this. We can leave. We can run. And spend our lives hiding?" He touched her face. "You've hidden for 200 years, Selena. I won't make you hide anymore." He raised the cup to his lips. The first mouthful tasted like the Atlantic Ocean's salt and depth and ancient cold. It burned going down, but not with heat. With knowing. With seeing. Images flooded his mind. Selena in her true form swimming through underwater temples. The history of Lagos rising from marshland to metropolis. The invisible hands of water spirits guiding every development. The second mouthful tasted like tears, all the grief Selena had carried for 2 centuries, all the loneliness of being other, of being alone in crowds, of loving and losing until love seemed pointless. The third mouthful tasted like hope, like the moment she'd first seen him in that boardroom, like every time he'd made her laugh, like the impossible future they might build together. Obinna lowered the cup. The chamber watched in absolute silence. Then his chest seized. He couldn't breathe. The water was moving inside him, filling spaces it shouldn't reach, reading him, judging him. His lungs felt full, his throat closed, panic rising. Selena's scream cut through the roaring in his ears. "He's drowning. Stop this. Stop this." The River King raised a hand, silencing her. "The water decides. Not us. Not you. The water knows truth." Obinna fell to his knees, choking, dying, wondering if love really was stronger than fear or if he'd just made the stupidest decision of his short human life. Then, like a switch being flipped, the water released him. Air rushed into his lungs. The drowning sensation vanished. And carved into his left palm, glowing faintly blue before fading to a permanent silver scar, was a mark, a python coiled around a cross, the symbol of the council, the mark of one bound to their secrets. "He lives," the River King announced. "The water has accepted him. He is bound to us now, marked as protected. Any who harm him harm all of us." Around the circle, The council members nodded, some looking pleased, others disappointed, as if they'd hoped for a different outcome. Selina pulled Obinna into her arms, sobbing. "You fool. You beautiful, impossible fool. I learned from the best," he gasped, still catching his breath. The River King stood, his massive form casting shadows that seemed to have weight. "Welcome, Obinna Chukwu, to the world beneath the world. You are the first human husband in our history. Do not make us regret this mercy." As the council began to disperse, returning to the shadows or diving into the central pool or simply vanishing like mist, one figure approached the woman with skin like flowing water. "I am Gozi," she said, her voice carrying the sound of streams over rocks. "I run the central bank. Your wife and I have known each other for 60 years. She smiled at Obinna. "You're either the bravest man in Lagos or the most foolish. Either way, you're interesting. Welcome to the family, brother." She dissolved into water that flowed away into the floor channels. Obinna looked down at the mark on his palm, then at Selina, then at the impossible temple beneath Victoria Island where Nigeria's true power structure gathered. "So," he said shakily, "this is my life now?" Selina laughed through her tears. "This is our life now." And somehow, impossibly, that was enough.